What's everybody? What's up, everybody? Can't even talk today. Awesome, good stuff. Welcome everybody to episode number 75 of the Geeks with Wives and Capes podcast, your number one most favorite podcast for all things geek. I am your usual host, Darth Sparrow, with my awesome crew. As always, I have the lovely resident lady of the bunch, Miss Piper Steed. How are you today? I heard you're being attacked by some strange creatures at the moment.
Yeah. Charlie, the newest kitten, apparently is obsessed with the cord to my headphones and has been attacking me, but chooses to attack the cord in the worst place ever. And I keep moving the cord, and it's not working.
The joys of having a kitten.
Right? It is adorable and, annoying.
It's a gift and a curse all at the same time, isn't it?
Exactly.
Well, it's so lovely to have you, as always, my friend.
Thank you.
What would we do and where would we be without you?
Exactly.
Yeah. And also joining us, as usual, from the Bat Cave tonight, the darkened sanctuary of awesome, because he's having power issues. So we just get this cool, what is that, Nova on your profile picture, Casey?
Yeah, Nova and Star-Lord just hanging out, kicking it old school.
That's right. The bad boy of comics, Mr. Casey Walsh. Casey, how was your week, sir?
Good. I got a sick kid, so kind of sucks at the moment. But other than that, it's been fine.
I think having a sick kid has to be like one of the worst things, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty terrible. You feel so like, cause I have to go. I mean, I still have to, I have a job and stuff, so I have to
Right.
leave her,
Mm-hmm.
and she looks at you with sad heavy eyes, and she's just
Why you being-
"Don't, yeah, where are you going, dude? I'm sick here." So, it's not fun, but yeah, so that's what I've been doing. So good times, just hanging out with my sick child. Fun for
Awesome.
everybody.
I've been sick too, man. So I apologize if I'm not my usual crazy self. I'm gonna bring still a level of crazy as much as I can. So you guys will have to forgive me. This cold I had just kicked my butt this week. So, but we are live and we are kicking, and we are joined by a new face tonight. Every time I say his name, I just feel like I need to be in ancient Rome with some lightning bolt in my hand. I will call him the mighty Agasicles.
Hey, what's going on?
Agasicles, welcome to the show, man. How are you, bro?
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for letting me sit in. Appreciate it.
Yeah, cool, man. So you're one of the new contributors to our site, correct?
I am. That is accurate.
Awesome. And tell us just to get us started tonight, since you're new to the team, tell us a little bit about you, your geeky origin story. Where did the world of geek start for you?
Whew, so you have to jump in a pretty big Wayback Machine. Go all the way back to 1976
Wow.
to the day that my dad brought home the Magnavox Odyssey, which was the first video game console sold at retail in North America. So I was 5 years old and started getting down playing Pong.
Magnavox Odyssey. That's
Yep.
way back.
Yes, yeah. So and it just continued on from there. So I stuck with gaming all the way through. Got into a little bit of comics. Of course, always loved movies and sci-fi and fantasy and whatnot. And so here we are.
Right, awesome, man. So what's your comic appetite now? Do you read a lot of comics?
I'm getting back into it, and so I got out of it, after high school, and then in 2010 when I got my first iPad. Reading digital comics was just kind of a cool thing to do on your iPad, when the comics apps came along. So I started getting into rack issues, started listening to a few online podcasts and stuff, and then I was like, I may as well just jump in and get back current. I had a local comic book shop that opened. Unfortunately, they only survived about a year. So when they opened up, though, I got back into it regularly, and then now that they've shut down, I've converted over to reading everything digitally, except for trades, which I go on Amazon and order my trades as hard copies.
Right. Get those nice discounts on Amazon.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So what's your favorite genre?
I almost hate to admit it, but I am, as with a lot of content, I'm a pretty mainstream guy. So, I dig on the big group comics from Marvel and DC. I'm
Right.
definitely more an Avengers guy than an X-Men guy.
Hey, nothing wrong with that, man.
Yeah.
And actually, probably one of the few people who will actually say that I prefer DC to Marvel. So Justice League is kind of my thing. But I really, I guess I try and force myself to read stuff outside the box, even though. So that's the stuff I like. But like this week, well, let me go back to last week. Like my favorite comic that I read from last release week was Abigail and the Snowman #1, which was pretty neat. It was really awesome because it was a comic I liked, but more importantly, it was one I could sit down with my oldest daughter at night at bedtime and read to her. And she loved it. So I've read that comic like 4 or 5 times, like in the last week. And this week I just got done reading Rye #6 from Boom. I'm sorry, from Valiant, and Wild's End #5 from Boom.
Right.
So
Wait, is it Rye or Ray? I've always thought it was Ray. Is it Rye?
I pronounce it Rye.
R-A-I.
I mean, because it's R-A-I, yeah. I could be wrong.
No,
I don't
right.
speak Japanese.
I'm an idiot. No.
Well, very cool, man. That's awesome. I know Casey has a lot of similar experiences with getting comics for his kids. Do you feel like that influences a little bit more when you go to the comic shop? You're constantly looking for things that you can share with your kids.
No, not really. Another thing I may hate to admit on air, but I kind of have this very eclectic approach to certain content, and with comics, I kind of have this system of randomly generating what I'm going to read and put on my pull list each week. So I'm really kind of, again, I read a lot of stuff that I left to my own devices of making my own choices I wouldn't pick up, but again, that randomness kind of forces me to read some things that I normally wouldn't. So no, that doesn't influence me. When I hit something that I'm like, oh, this will be awesome, like I can sit down and read this with my kid, that definitely gives it some additional value to me, but it doesn't really drive what I pick up.
Hey, we all have our ways of picking what we're gonna read.
Right.
Hey, Will, how bad would I have butchered Agathocles' name?
We probably would have gotten something like Adjacicles.
That's the way I was reading it, actually, in my head.
Am I close, Casey?
Yeah, something like that. He's been messaging me. I haven't had a conversation with him yet, but he's been messaging me on email and through the group me and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, I hope I never have to have a conversation with this guy because I'm never gonna be able to pronounce his name correctly.
Don't worry, man. I helped us out and asked before.
That's why you're the host.
Hey, you know what? I do what I can, man. So Agathocles, what awesome things have you contributed to the site thus far?
So I'm just getting started. Actually, I just submitted my first review tonight, which was a review of Rye #6. So,
okay.
Yep.
Awesome. So look for that coming soon.
Yep.
Well, we're super excited to have you aboard, man. We always love to have new and fresh voices on the site, and love getting all these different perspectives from geeks of all walks of life. So welcome, and we look forward to all the cool stuff you're gonna bring to the site.
Thanks much.
Of course, man. Well, since the week was a little slow in news, I'm gonna start backwards today. We'll start with our week in geek. We'll get back to Agathocles in a minute since you already kind of started us off a little bit.
God, I love hearing that name. I'm gonna change my name to Agathocles.
You like the mighty Quesador?
Yeah, that's so awesome.
That sounds like a quesadilla.
I bet nobody fucked with you when you were a kid, right? Nobody. Did you ride a tiger to school? You did.
Not a tiger, Casey, a liger. It's like a lion and a tiger mix. Mr. Walsh, why don't you start us off tonight with your Week in Geek? What do you got for us?
What did I read this week? I don't even know. I know. Because I did a lot of backlogging stuff. So I read The Humans. That's what it's called. It's like an Image comic book. I think I've talked about it before, but basically what it is like I don't know how to describe it. It's like a biker game from Bakersfield, but they're like apes.
Yeah.
So like 8 people.
Like Planet of the Apes meets Sons of Anarchy.
kind of, I guess. But it's not as like apocalyptic. It's just like they're like normal, like it's just like normal Bakersfield, but they're like instead of people, there's apes, and like the people are there, but they're treated as like pets. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's really good. It's a very like human story. It sounds so weird. It's a very human story about apes.
Yeah.
So like yeah, so like the first issue was kind of like this funeral for one of the guys that died. And it's very like sexual and drugs, and it's very weird to like see like gorillas and orangutans have sex with each other. It's like
So they had that in there?
oh yeah, totally. It's
Dang.
it's like looking at a car accident. Like you don't want to look away, but you have to like stare at it.
like a train wreck, huh?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that in there.
Yeah.
The art's fantastic. The issues 2 and 3 were about a guy that came back from the Vietnam War.
Uh-huh.
And I thought this was funny. The monkeys they were fighting in like Vietnam were like those like really colorful like jungle monkeys you see like on like Discovery Channel or whatever.
Right.
It was so weird. I don't know. It's just weird, but it's really like human at the same time. It's a lot of fun. I think you can get away with more stuff if they're not actually people, because it's pretty like gory and like sexual, and like there's a lot of drug use and crazy stuff. And I think it's like for some reason it's just easier to take when you see a guy that looks like the local news chimpanzee. I don't know what I was gonna say, but the local like
local news.
I don't know where
that is the
from.
most accurate statement about Fox News ever.
The local news chimpanzee.
Yeah. It's just like like the chimps that they bring on the local news, like you know what I mean, like you know what I'm talking about.
You get those animal handlers that are there kind of for a fluff piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the ones that rip off your face, but the nice like ones that wear diapers.
The nice ones.
That's right, folks. Bobo the chimpanzee just celebrated his 27th birthday.
So it's very good. It's very fun. Like I don't know. It's not fun. Fun's the wrong word for it. It's very human. It's so weird. I don't know. I can't describe it. Go check it out for yourself. Anyways, I've talked about the books, the ape book. What else did I read this week? I'm pretty sure. Go ahead.
The guy who got killed in that issue, did he get stabbed by chance?
No, he was already dead. So like
Okay.
it was like it started off with him being in a funeral.
No, I asked.
Were you going for it?
No, because last release week, it seemed like every book I read, somebody got stabbed. So last week, like Constantine got stabbed, Usagi Yojimbo got stabbed. It just like several other people. So it just seemed like a weird thing of maybe the first release week of 2015, like people had a
I mean,
natural stabbing
fetish or something.
I think there was a stabbing. I think the stabbing in the book because there was like a gang fight involved at some point.
Okay, all right.
So I'm sure someone got stabbed, but it was not featured.
Okay, gotcha.
So you may be right there, though. What was I talking about? What else did I read?
Yeah.
I read Conan and Sonia, number 1, and my review for that's on the site. I said this in my review, so I'm going to reuse my joke.
Go ahead.
Cause I'm a terrible comedian in that way. My only knowledge of Conan and Red Sonja are from 2 Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and a Universal Studios stage show.
Right.
So I didn't know a lot about like the lore of Conan and all that stuff going in. But that being said, though, I've seen Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer probably 20 times.
Right. Have you seen the bad one with James Earl Jones where he's like the bad guy?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think that's the Barbarian.
That's the first one. Yeah, Conan the Barbarian.
Gotcha.
And I think that's the one that the stage show, like we're talking about Universal Studios stage shows now.
Oh,
the
yeah,
stage
that's
show
right.
is based off of too, because that's where he fights
okay.
the giant snake, right? I just remember that vividly for some reason. Like he fights the giant. I remember
Snake.
a very muscular man at Universal Studios fighting a giant snake.
Right.
So that's my whole knowledge base of Conan, which is terrible because Conan's like a 100-year-old character that has like a.
He's like a literary icon or something.
Yeah. So. Oh, hold on one second.
Yeah, no worries, man. Casey's being held on the Batcave phone at the moment. Commissioner Gordon is calling him. We're really sorry for the interruption.
Okay, where was I? Okay, so Conan, yeah. So the book was good. Like I liked it a lot, I guess. Okay. It was fine. Sonya's an awesome character. But when you have someone like Jim Zub and Gail Simone involved, you kind of expect that kind of thing with a female character, I think, and she's by far the star of the book so far.
Right.
And the most interesting part, like Conan just kind of comes in and just murders people, and then says like, "Oh fuck them," and like moves on.
Yeah.
Where she's like very like the moral like the moral arrow of the book, and like she kind of like guides the story along, and it seems like it's about her, and he's just there to kind of like murder people maliciously and not have to worry about it, which he totally does.
So is Gail Simone the writer on that one?
I think Jim Zub is officially the writer, but she's credited as helping as a writer as well.
Right. But
it's not like they were tweeting back and forth, and in fact Jim Zub retweeted my review, and it sounded like he was the main writer in the book, and she was like contributing because she writes Red Sonja for Dynamite.
Right.
But Jim Zub does not write Conan for Dark Horse, so that's why I think he's the main writer on that.
Okay.
Weird. Anyways, so that was okay. That was good. And like I said, if you like Conan, I think you'll dig it. It's a cool origin story of how like they first met each other. It was cool. I enjoyed it. Nothing special though. I mean, yeah, it was good. I like Gail Simone a lot, so anything with her name on, I'll usually check out. Another book I read this week that I don't think anyone is talking about, and I feel like I don't remember seeing it like in the like previews for it or anything, was Mortal Kombat X by DC Comics. Yeah, right? Like
I didn't know they
was
were
like,
doing a Mortal Kombat book.
me neither. So I'm like, I saw it on the shelf, and I was like, oh, cool little cover of Scorpion.
Do they not do enough, like, I don't know, advertising or promotions for that? Because you think they would, since it's Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I didn't see anything. Like, and I'm usually pretty on top of it.
So my guess is that's actually and there's a certain element to which I hate that DC's doing. It's really like a Vertigo book, but since the Vertigo branding has gone away, it's a DC book.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. DC logo right on the front.
Well, but I mean, all the Vertigo books have the DC logo now, right? Because the Vertigo branding has gone away. It's just all DC, but that style of book is really being done by that old Vertigo office or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll try to look at it. Okay, it's too dark in here for me to read the inside cover. But it definitely feels like a Vertigo book because it's super gory. Of course, like any Mortal Kombat shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed it, but small caveat, like for some reason, some of the first comic books I got were Mortal Kombat comic books. I think I got them at Costco in like a bundle or something.
The good old Costco bundle.
Yeah, so it was kind of like a trip back to like my comic book origins or my Mortal Kombat origins. So I really kind of dug it. Like I said, very gory. I think it's going to tie in nicely to the Mortal Kombat lore of the new game, and it kind of stars Scorpion, who's now like a good guy. So I really enjoyed it, and you get to hear "Get Over Here" like 5 times. So it's fun.
Awesome.
I also have Star Wars, but I haven't got a chance to read it yet. So hopefully someone else did and can tell me how it is.
How are we supposed to talk about that if you didn't read it?
You can tell me. I won't go spoilers.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. What else, man? Anything else?
Nothing else. Not that I can top up my head, but I'm sure I'll chime in when someone else is talking, like always.
Piper, what have you got for us this week in Geek?
I've been super duper busy, so I'm really behind in reading comics, but I do like to just like read a random, super random comic when I can. So this week I read all of the Pathfinder comics because they happen to be on the front page of the Comic Fix app, which, by the way, if you don't have, you suck. Remember that.
Yes.
They happen to be on the front page, and I liked the character on the front of the first one. It was very interesting, and I know what Pathfinder is. I haven't played it, but I love D&D and other tabletop games, so I was kind of interested in seeing it translated into a comic, and I wasn't disappointed. It was very neat. I read all the ones that were on there,
Mm-hmm.
and it pretty much starts and wraps up a nice little adventure. And reading the whole thing, I can just think of my, gaming party doing this, or this being a kind of side quest. So it was really neat to get into. And at the end of each comic, it actually has stats and stuff for all the people and all the characters and creatures that they featured
Mm-hmm.
in that particular comic. They would actually have all these character stats and stuff like right there for you, which definitely helped get you into the mindset of tabletop role playing game. It was essentially some goblins were acting unusual, and so they went to investigate why, and they were drinking this certain kind of water that if you consume enough of it does dumb stuff to you. And trying to summarize, I feel like a really bad comic book fan because usually I just go fangirl over the comic itself and I don't sit there and think about the company or any of the names on the comic unless I want to follow said names. And with me wanting to read like as much random stuff as I can get my hands on, I'm usually not trying to follow a specific person. So I would suggest checking it out. I love the art style. It's one of the kind of art styles that I like.
Mm-hmm.
It's very colorful and pretty realistic, and it's very immersive. Really like the design of the characters and stuff. Of course, you know, the women were scantily clad, but I really don't care because they looked good. I mean,
Nice.
yeah, I mean, if women in a comic are drawn like all scantily clad and it doesn't even make sense, I'll probably say something, you know, about the fact that maybe they should think about designing the characters appropriately for what they're doing and not for their boobs and stuff. But you know, this one, they were hot, but they had the appropriate armor because they were still designing them as tabletop roleplay characters. So,
Right.
even if it was form-fitting armor, the characters that needed armor had it correct, and the caster had hardly any clothes, but it's a caster, and for whatever reason in these games, if you play these games, casters usually can't wear anything beyond cloth because for some reason they'll crumble to the ground or something. So. So it still made sense. I really liked it. I really suggest checking it out. I would say if you like fantasy, even if you don't like role-play games, if you like fantasy, this is a nice little story. And if you like tabletop role-play, this is an awesome, very immersive story for that.
Gotcha. Excellent.
I was trying to take up a lot of time on one comic because I read I didn't read one comic, I read one series of comics.
Yeah,
but trying to make it sound like I read a whole lot because I'm really behind. I'm being a really bad comic book person right now.
Hey, that's okay. Thank you for that. Did you watch anything fun this week?
Yeah, I watched the next Agent Carter.
Oh yeah.
I am not as pissed off. They finally kind of moved on. They moved on. They moved on from trying to punch you in the face with, look how women were treated back in the day, and like really beat you over the head with it. They're done doing that, and they kind of the story moved on from that finally, and it got interesting. Like when it premiered, it wasn't grabbing my attention and keeping it as much, but I was also kind of getting annoyed, which is part of the reason.
Right.
This time there was more action and there was a lot more. It was more suspenseful and it kept my attention better.
Yeah, all right.
And just for Casey, I didn't live tweet it either.
Good girl.
Right?
Did you watch that this week, Casey?
I haven't had a chance to watch. I've had having a sick kid just means that the TV is locked on Disney Junior. So I've watched a lot of Winnie the Pooh and Jake and the Neverland Pirates.
Hey, at least you're watching good stuff.
So good.
Yeah.
I hate Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh is the biggest pile of crap, literally, I've ever seen in my watched in my entire life. Like,
Oh,
Hey man, tell
my
us.
daughter could write better Winnie the Pooh stories than those English bastards could.
And English bastards out there, we love you too.
I knew I was gonna offend somebody today. It had to be English people.
Gasticles, are you watching Agent Carter?
I have not. I just after skipping Arrow for the last for its first two seasons, I
Yeah.
just engaged on that in the last couple of weeks. So I got caught up on I guess the most recent 5 episodes of season 3, and then I've been binge watching Arrow season 1, trying to get in as much of it
nice.
as I can before the mid-season premiere.
Gotcha, man. Well, since you're talking about what you've been watching already, why don't you take us to what else you did this week in your week in geek?
So are we doing? I apologize for being the new guy, but are we
Oh
doing
yeah.
just comics or anything nerd-like?
Anything. We usually do
Anything?
comics in there, but if you're watching something you want to talk about, that's a good time too.
Okay, all right, cool. So
Anything you did geeky this week?
okay, so for probably the first primary geeky thing is I spent yesterday and this morning configuring my new phone. So I just I'm trading in my Google Nexus 5 for this, which is my Xperia Z3V, which is pretty neat. So the cool thing about this is it has remote play with the PlayStation 4. So I haven't had a chance to test that out, but I will hopefully get around to that over the 3-day weekend and see how that works. Comic-wise, like I mentioned, read Rye number 6 and just finished. It's interesting that Casey took a pot shot at the Brits because I just finished reading Wild's End number 5,
Uh-huh.
which is a Boom comic with where all of the characters are humanoid animals who all speak with British accents.
Nice.
That's a Dan Abbott book,
So,
Guardians of the Galaxy guy.
yeah. Yep. Yeah, so the setup for this book, and I didn't read the first 4 issues. I just jumped in on issue 5. But the setup for that book is an alien invasion in Britain. It looks like a period piece. Maybe it's kind of Victorian era. I'm not really certain, but it was pretty neat. It was weird when the book first started. Again, because I was coming off Abigail and the Snowman, and it also recently read Imagine Agents Volume 1, which was a 4-issue miniseries, but I read that in trade, and that one was like around imaginary friends. So I've been reading a lot of stuff with like weird kind of like I don't know dreams or daydreams from like your childhood era. So when the book started off, I was kind of lukewarm on it because it didn't hit me with the same kind of charm that Abigail and the Snowman did,
Right.
and even to a certain extent, Imagine Agents, which I really didn't have that high an opinion of. But Wild's End number 5 really picks up about midway through the book and finishes off really nicely. So I think that's a really nice series for somebody to jump in on if you're looking for something, just outside of the mainstream, and especially if
Yeah,
you go ahead, Case.
I was say I was really looking forward to that book, and I really wanted to get into it. I just didn't have time, so I'm glad that you recommended it. Now I can go back and check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I've got a long pull list this week, but the other things I have to get to that I'm really looking forward to are Captain Marvel number 11, all new Captain America number 3. I'm really looking forward to picking up because number 2, I don't know if anybody read that, definitely ended in a pretty big cliffhanger. So I'll also be reading my first issue of Astro City, which is the Alex Ross ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
And Batgirl number 38, which I'm also really looking forward to. How they've kind of, I don't know if reboot is the right word for what they've done with that girl, but they've reimagined her, so I'm looking forward to checking that out too.
Excellent, man.
I
Very
actually
cool.
don't like the reimagining of Batgirl at all.
I'm not crazy about. Well, I guess. Yeah, I guess I have mixed feelings of it. It seems like a neat idea. It's just them doing something different, which doesn't seem to be DC's tack right now overall since the New 52 started. The new but not New 52.
I I get you there. It's just that I think they're trying like too hard to appeal to like the current younger crowd, and they've really dumbed her down so much. She's dumb now. She's a social media addict, and she's wearing clothes that don't even work right for. I like her outfit for the fact that it's not skin tight. That's awesome. But she's wearing a leather suit when she's Batgirl. You can't move in that. And then get some boots that fit.
Piper's so practical when it comes to her superhero costuming.
Yes, well, it has to work. Skin tight actually works a hell of a lot better than freaking leather. Skin tight all the way. It lets you freaking move. Get that spandex back on. That's fine. Get some bulletproof spandex. That's cool.
Yeah.
The weird thing about Batgirl for me is it's just like I think I'm kind of in the same place you are, Piper. It's neat that they're trying something different, but I just don't get why it's such a huge cliff jump from where they were. Like they take her up. I mean, this incarnation of Batgirl up before this change was like the most badass version of Batgirl that there's been. There were all those lines in Batman Eternal about the truth really was that that Tim and Jason and Dick all thought that she was like the best of the Batman assistants. That they all knew that they were not
assistants. Assistants.
I didn't want to say sidekick because it just seems to denigrate what those guys are.
Assistant seems to downgrade what they do a lot because now I'm imagining them answering the phone at the back.
Associate, would that be more appropriate?
Associate, yeah, that gives them that kind of evens it out a little, yeah.
Okay, so
that's better than life partner, right?
So of the Batman associates, they ran her up to where there was this whole opinion that she was like the best one, and then all of a sudden, she decides she needs a break away from kind of all the deep, Batman-y type of stuff, and then just pops back up as Piper said as this. Social media thing with kind of like a female version of Entourage hanging out with her, and it's just weird.
She's dumb. They've turned her and a bunch of people into the Spice Girls essentially, and I think it's dumb. She was so badass, and now she's dumb.
Right.
Hey, if she's hanging out with Ginger, this may be a book I have to pick up now.
Oh, Baby Spice, come on. Baby Spice.
Ginger Spice all the way. Don't even get me started. Come on.
Baby Spice is just the cute one. Come on.
No. Her name is Baby Spice. I can never have sex with anyone named Baby Spice. That's just not.
That's a good point, man. It's kind of creepy.
That's true. That is true.
I don't know if I can handle Scary Spice either. Like, oh, scary. Doesn't work out that well.
At least, yeah, Ginger Spice, wasn't that the only one that at least was, like, a kind of spice?
I guess.
Oh, I guess it is. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, Ginger is classified as a spice, essentially, so she was the only one that actually had a spice name, I think.
And I don't know how we got on the topic of Spice Girls, but whatever.
Let's roll with it. It's
Gasicles, is that everything you have for us this week, my friend? I want to cut you off if you were.
Yeah, no. Yep, that's it.
Awesome. Well, I guess it's my turn. First thing is something I picked up, but I haven't got a chance to read yet. But I'm excited because I don't know if I posted this on our Twitter, but it's Piper was talking about this last week or a week before, that it's not every day that you go into the comic shop and you see a comic that actually has a name of somebody that you actually in real life know, who you consider a friend and acquaintance. So that's always a really cool thing. So a friend of mine, Tess Fowler, was the artist for this book, which is Rat Queens, which is a one-off issue. It's the Special Braga #1, and Tess Fowler was the artist for this awesome book. So I'm super excited to read this. I haven't got a chance to read it, but it definitely deals with some orcs and some really cool-ass battles. There's an orc with very large books. So this is definitely not a kid's book, okay? But I'm super excited, so I just want to give a big shout-out to Tess and say congrats. And hopefully, I know she's not big on video interviews, so I'm hoping to get a written review or interview with her for the site and talk all about her issue of Rat Queen. So that's super exciting. So check that out. I have never.
Oh yeah, I think I'm behind on Rat Queens. I need to catch up now, definitely.
Yeah, I haven't read the book before. So I'm definitely interested in reading the other stuff now after looking through it a little bit. But you've read it before, Piper?
I've read. I can't remember how many Rat Queens. I read that were an ongoing thing, and then I started going back to random stuff. So I kind of I keep forgetting about the series that I start that I need to go back to. And Rat Queens was definitely one of the ones that I wanted to go back to and follow. So if there's more out now, I definitely need to grab them.
Well, there is more out now, so I will check it out and let you guys know what I thought about it. Maybe, Casey, maybe I might actually write a review. Did we lose you, Casey? Maybe we lost Casey. All right.
Casey.
We lost Casey. He's swallowed up by the bat. Anyway, first thing I actually read.
The cat wanted back in.
First thing I actually read this week was Loki. Normally Loki Agent of Asgard. They're still on the Loki Agent of Axis kick right now, number 9. For those of you listening who can't see the cover, I love this cover. It just definitely has a very old school, early comic book days, almost like, the Batman 66 kind of feel, like where there's never before has the hero Loki faced as dangerous a foe as Thor. That all these little subtitles all over the front of the comic. I freaking love it. That was the first thing that grabbed my attention of this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. And it's you can also check out these other plot threads in this great issue. So super fun. The last issue, Loki had just begun a battle with his brother Thor. Obviously, everybody at this point in time is still affected by the events of Axis and the whole inversion spell, and everybody that was good is now bad, and bad is now good. And Loki, who this whole comic has kind of been dealing with that to begin with anyways, he's been kind of trying to atone for his past sins and kind of trying to walk a little bit of a more worthy line, I guess you could say. He's kind of been dealing with that. So the weird thing was this spell didn't transform him back to being a bad guy. It made him more good, I guess. So I'm going to spoil. If you haven't read this, I'm sorry. I'm spoil. You can turn me off. You can put me on mute for a second if you want. But the freaking most cool part about this episode is Coolest part about this issue is Loki decides to lead the battle between him and his brother back onto the moon where Thor dropped Mjolnir before the new Thor picked it up. Because this book takes place after issue number 9 of Axis and before Thor 1. So at this point, Mjolnir is still sitting on the moon waiting for somebody to pick him up. Well, just so happens that at this point in time, Loki is worthy enough to wield Mjolnir and becomes Thor Loki. And it is so cool. So that crazy silver armor that Thor wears under his cape and his vest thing. Loki has that, but his is gold. And he's got the green robes, and he's still got his crazy Loki headdress thing going on. It's a super cool moment. He's definitely he's praying to whoever he prays to, and hoping that he's worthy enough to wield it. And if you're watching, you can kind of see right here. There's a very cool picture of Loki getting ready to take down his brother, who's just gone super crazy and evil. So. Super cool issue. I freaking love it. That's one of the highlights of this book for me so far, which is a book that I already love. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. How does this storyline affect the storyline with the?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
How does it affect what?
Is this a completely separate storyline? They're ignoring the one where the chick is Thor right now?
No, this happened right before that started. This is
okay.
Yeah.
But it just came out.
Yeah. This came out last month. I want to say.
Okay, but still, this is why I have such a hard time following DC and Marvel.
We were talking about it in the chat. Those two freaking publishers are completely off the chain with 15 freaking events going on and 10 weeklies and nothing makes any sense, and it's Marvel now, but it's not Marvel now, and it's Marvel, and it's the New 52, but half of the books they kicked off with the New 52 have been canceled, and so it's the
Dang.
New, old, new 50, like,
Yeah.
like, and you know, the whole thing, just since I started the rant, but like the whole thing in DC, because I will say I'm probably more pissed at DC than Marvel right now, but like the whole thing with, 30 years ago we did Crisis on Infinite Earths and solved this whole problem in DC of multiple Earths and like 15 different versions of Superman.
I thought that's what it was supposed to do.
Yeah, and then slowly over time we've just crept back to the point where now we have multiple Earths again and we have to do the whole thing all over. And I'm like, sorry.
Yeah.
All right. I apologize for hijacking you there, Will.
No,
Oh, no,
it's cool. Yeah, Piper said.
That's what
answer
this
your
is
question.
for.
This
This
was
is
supposedly
discussion.
before New Thor. This is before.
Yeah.
And this is just a brief battle. He doesn't even like get to wield Mjolnir very long because right about that time when this is happening, that's when like they reverse the inversion spell and everything kind of goes back to the way it's supposed to. So it was just a very brief, cool moment for Loki that.
So then he was like unworthy really fast.
Yeah, to wield Thor's hammer and kick his brother's butt when his brother was being a douche. So yeah. That was that. I will be interested to see what happens now that everything is back to normal in the next issue, which is coming next week.
Yeah, there's still no normal in Marvel.
Yeah. So
Marvel, DC, come on, you guys, get your shit together.
We could have answered Piper's question with, well, it was after the inversion spell, but before the new Thor, but somewhere in between the events of Fear itself, but before the Ultimate before Peter Parker died, and then came back.
Yes.
Dude, trying to keep track of this is gonna give me an aneurysm. You see, this is why I read random stuff. Like my pulls are always just completely random stuff because I'm like, at least then I'm expecting it to be random, as opposed to following a storyline and I actually need other people to help me figure out when certain crap happened.
Right. And and I completely get, and there's some comic book readers who are like, don't worry about continuity. Continuity doesn't exist. Don't bother. And I get that, and I understand that, and I can accept that approach to comics. But my problem is, it's Marvel and DC that are themselves making a big deal out of continuity.
Yeah.
And by making a big deal out of it, they're making a big deal out of it, and then doing it in this completely Byzantine, freaking convoluted way that really arguably, is an attempt to force you to have to read, 26 things in your pull list every week.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's not happening.
Right.
Yes, my biggest complaint is I hate reading a comic and all of a sudden there's a little square that says, see such and such comic, blah, blah, blah. That's a completely different series of comics, but it keeps referencing it. So I hate seeing those squares pop up where it's like, if you want to understand this part right here, then you're going to have to go and read this whole series over here. And if you want to understand stuff in that series right there, then you're going to have to go read this other one over here. I hate that.
Right. And these days, I'm actually, and I agree that that's frustrating. I'm actually okay with that, only in comparison to the books that these days don't even bother mentioning it. Like, read Batman.
You have to find out for yourself. You have to dig, yeah.
Read any Batman comic book right now, and there's like crap. I mean, freaking Batman Eternal is a weekly that's almost like the 52 issue point. And if you read another Batman comic, they just like, Wayne Manor is Arkham Asylum now, and like there's no mention that went down in Batman Eternal. It's just assumed that you know that and have been exposed to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got it. That probably is worse, where they don't even they don't throw you a bone that says, if you want to understand this, you need to go read this. They don't even tell you then.
Right.
Oh, that's harder.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, but anyways, besides all the continuity things, there's obviously one more thing that you guys knew I was going to talk about, and if you don't know what it is, this might, cue you in as to what I'm about to talk about. This week, the triumphant return of Star Wars to Marvel has finally arrived with Star Wars issue number 1 under the Marvel umbrella. First, before I go into my review of the comic, I love my local comic shop. I have to say I was egregiously disappointed when I walked in. Mind you, I've had like this massive like cold flu thing, so I'm like bundled up. I look like Ralphie's brother from A Christmas Story. You know, I've got like 3 sweaters on and like my scarf around my throat and mouth. You know, because I'm like been super sick, and I'm like an hour early before the comic shop opens because like I heard all these like different comic shops were gonna have like launch parties and give away things and all this cool stuff. Yeah, I walk into my comic shop and there's nothing. There's no variants, nothing given away, nobody's excited. I was pissed. But I still got Star Wars #1. By the way, shout out to my buddy Jason in Hanford who has a comic shop who's going to hook me up with like 2 of the variants. So I will still get some. But anyways, I'm sure a lot of people read this because it's like, I mean, like one of the top-selling comics of 2015 already, which is crazy.
2015 just started. Oh my God.
I know. That's what I'm saying. But as in proper fashion, they start this comic just like the movie with the A Long Time Ago in a Galaxy Far, Far Away. Then you get the Star Wars title, and of course, what would a Star Wars be without the crawl, which we got in this book too.
I love that. That's really nice to the fans.
Yeah, so automatically I was already super excited before I even actually read anything on this book. We don't get a lot of crazy backstory besides the crawl. Obviously, this is right after A New Hope. The Death Star has been destroyed, and it's kind of where the rebels are starting to gain some foothold against the Empire. And this issue, like, it just starts out, I guess you could say like an episode of like Rebels. I mean, we just start like in the middle of a mission. They're on a mission to an Imperial factory where they're building ships, and their job is to infiltrate and destroy. So you get all those little bits and pieces and personalities of Han Solo and Luke and everybody doing their thing. Just your typical fun shoot 'em up, saving people issue of Star Wars.
So I guess Marvel's approach to this title is going to be that they're going to kind of rotate through like all their all-star talent and stuff on this book. So who was on this first issue for story and art?
Let's see, Aaron. What's his last name? It's back here. I have to look. Somebody Aaron wrote this one.
So Jason Aaron. Jason Aaron. Okay. Wow.
Jason Aaron wrote this one, and the artist was John Cassaday.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The art was super incredible. I mean, it's very realistic, definitely felt like Star Wars, the artwork. This was kind of a thicker issue, obviously being the first issue, and plus they gave us a preview into 2 of the other Star Wars books they're going to be doing, which one I'm obviously excited about. You guys, no surprise here, was the Darth Vader book that's going to be coming out in February. And they chose to give us a nice, badass, like splash page of Darth Vader inside of Jabba's palace, standing amidst all the different aliens, and Jabba's down here in the foreground somewhere. And
nice.
Then we also got a little preview of the Princess Leia book, which has kind of more of that cartoony, like hyper stylized art going on. If you're watching, you can see. If not, I'm sorry, but yeah. So interesting. They didn't give us anything really with words. It's just pictures. So just kind of getting you excited, I guess, for the other books. I, for one, am a huge Star Wars fan. I'm sure you guys all know this.
I'm right there with you. Don't worry.
I am super happy to be having a Star Wars book from Marvel. Yeah, I'm bummed that they got rid of all the Dark Horse stuff, and there was a lot of years of awesome Dark Horse books that just kind of, I don't know, I feel like got thrown away, but really sucks. But I'm happy that at least from this first issue, it looks like it's going to be really fun and cool and enjoyable. So.
Now, are you worried about, between now and the movie's release, are you worried about there being like an oversaturation of Star Wars content to the point of it just being driven? I mean, I think we're going to have 2 or 3 new animated series on during the fall season. Or during sometime this year, and then Marvel's doing a complete blitzkrieg with the books. I mean,
I guess that's always a worry. To me, I think that's why I'm really kind of choosy when it comes to Star Wars, what I like invest my time into, because I really choose to only
Yeah.
focus on things,
Right. Right.
that way I don't get that, But I mean, I also definitely think that they're doing like stuff with the animation that's going to focus on different things in the movie, so I feel like it's also going to give you a nice rounded picture of everything, rather than just being the same stuff in different formats. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So
No.
so I think for people who are not really into Star Wars, they're gonna feel like, yeah, it's too much Star Wars crap. But
Right. Right.
for people like me, I'm like, yeah, bring it on, whatever. What do you guys think? What's your thought on the whole matter? Because obviously we're this is like for sure the year of Star Wars. We're gonna be Star Wars everything this year. So
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big moneymaker, so I can see why it's going to be Star Wars everything. Although I'm with you
They're
in
big
the
cash
fact
cow.
that, yeah, in my Star Wars fandom, I always kind of picked and choose. I mean, way back in the day when I was really young, there wasn't much to choose from. So, I wanted every piece of lore I could get my hands on.
Right.
As soon as like the three prequels or whatever the hell,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I kind of stepped back and got more, choosy over what I wanted to absorb and what I really wanted to invest my time in as well. So I'm with you on that, and I think it'll be nice to see all the younger generations like super into Star Wars. Like, my son, he got to get into it, about the same age that I did.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool being able to share that with him, and he might be more into some of the stuff because I think a lot of the animated things are going to be geared much towards grabbing the younger ones.
Sure.
I followed the Clone Wars thing, and it was fun, but there was a lot of stuff that was like really little kiddie.
Mm-hmm.
About it and kind of immature about it. So um, I'll probably sit and watch some animated stuff with him. Maybe not all of it.
Yeah.
There's going to be that many because I didn't follow that. I've been following movie news and comic news on it, so I didn't even realize. And I love cartoons, so I didn't even realize that. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he'll probably load up the DVR with a whole bunch of Star Wars, and I'll probably sit and enjoy it with him.
Yeah.
But I'm still worried about this movie.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a little I'm definitely more intrigued and more excited. Yeah, we've seen a little bit, but I'm still not like, fully committed yet. I'm gonna wait till we see a little bit more.
I always feel like the longer you drag out a story in movies,
Mm-hmm.
the worse the movies get. So the fact that there's going to be even more, I'm halfway excited because Disney has done a wonderful job with Marvel, I think,
Right.
in terms of movies.
Yeah.
So I think they're capable.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they don't try to really super ham it up for the fans, I think they're capable. I'm worried that there's not that much story left to really put into a movie that's going to grab people, since the most iconic characters they're not really,
Yeah.
except for Han. But other than that, there's no more super iconic characters, and that's the risky part.
Yeah. They have to bring in all new characters that we, will
And they're going to
hopefully
have
fall in
to
love with.
grab us right there and get us to love them as much as, Luke and Leia and all that stuff back in the day. So hopefully, like I said, I think they're capable. It is a high risk.
If anybody can do it, they can. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm worried. I'm kind of like, well, it's a 50-50 shot. It's either going to be disappointing or it's going to be super awesome. So I'm hoping for super awesome.
Yeah. Well, awesome. We're getting close to the time, but I wanted to talk about a couple of news items from this week. It wasn't too much craziness, but we'll stick to the topic of Marvel. In a recent press conference with the Russo brothers, who wrote The Winter Soldier as well as wrote Captain America: Civil War, they have confirmed that Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, as well as Sebastian Stan, the Winter Soldier, will be returning for Cap 3, which is Cap Civil War. So that's kind of exciting.
Yes.
We keep hearing that some characters are gonna die pretty soon, starting with Age of Ultron. So obviously it's not gonna be them. So I think they're still gonna be around for hopefully till the third one. So we'll see what happens. Eric, I guess, Cleese, you're definitely more of a comic guy than I am. What are you feeling about this? What do you think that means for the movie? Anything in particular?
I really try not to game those things out.
Yeah.
I have some pretty strict rules for how I follow that stuff. That's
Right.
generally like just to go back to what we were just talking about Star Wars. Like, I will probably not watch another Star Wars trailer until
Okay.
like right before the movie releases.
Right.
I will, if I see Star Wars on Twitter, I will immediately like file past it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really.
There's a
I mean,
lot, man.
I have somebody's. I mean, I'm glad to hear ScarJo coming back to be Black
Yeah.
Widow. I don't know that she could carry a movie by herself. For that thread of conversation that's been going around. I just recently watched Lucy, and I thought it was good, but it didn't give me confidence that she could carry a Black Widow movie by herself. And as far as Sebastian Stan, not to take anything away from him, but I mean, Winter Soldier, I mean, as he was rendered in the movie,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people could have played that character. Super loving what they're doing with Winter Soldier in the comics right now,
Right.
in his ongoing. So if they intermix any of that kind of into the storyline with him, working with Shield and working with Nick Fury, I think that could be really interesting in the movie. So.
He's definitely the way they have portrayed him in the movie. He's kind of a one-dimensional guy. He's a guy with a mask, doesn't talk much, he just kicks a lot of ass.
Right. I am super intrigued to see the Civil War storyline play out on the big screen. I think that will be interesting because one thing that the movies haven't done a lot,
Mm-hmm.
at least not directly in your face, is they really haven't tweaked that controversy button.
Right.
As far as, I mean, they've definitely had human elements in it,
Right.
but I think maybe a little less so than you want to say. I guess maybe it's not accurate to say Arrow has been doing this, but other like nerd content has definitely
Mm-hmm.
kind of poked you in the eye with human beings are really crappy or human beings are really good, despite the fact that we think that they're crappy. Avengers kind of hasn't gone down that roads, but Civil War should definitely bring some of that out.
Awesome. It'll definitely be an exciting series of events to see in full, as compared to what we've seen so far. So could be a nice.
I agree that especially in the movie, in the movie universe, they kind of like put it as an aside, the effect of the stuff they do on general population and stuff. They kind of put it as a, oh, by the way, this is what people thought. Usually in little news reports, the TV series, the DC TV series, they are better able to explore what general population thinks of does this random person have the right to be destroying what they're destroying in the name of good, or killing who they're killing in the name of good, or whatever. They're exploring it a lot more, and Civil War definitely has to. So that should force the movies to have to explore that. But right now, I agree that kind of in the movies, it's just a little aside, like, oh, by the way, we interviewed various people on the street, like.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, what are you guys thinking is going to be the catalyst for Civil War? I mean, I know there's the secret identity piece to it, which I don't quite understand how they're going to do that in the Marvel movies, since there are apparently no secret identities. But another element of it in the comics were mutants, which they don't have in the Avengers because they can't, because of the licensing issues. It seems like they've been winding up to pitch the Inhumans as kind of. I mean, are you guys thinking that's kind of the bend they're going to take?
Oh yeah, it definitely looks like Inhumans are going to play a big role.
Yeah,
soon.
It kind of seemed like what they're setting up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
is
gonna has to give a really long setup considering when the movies are coming out, but But hey, that gives other people that are just getting into it because of the movies and TV. That's really giving them a chance to catch up in a way by dragging it out in Agents of Shield. I love Agents of Shield being a tool for that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
to link to the movie universe.
Yes, that is one thing that Marvel is doing that I actually wish DC would do.
Right.
I really wish DC would just take what they're doing on Arrow and Flash, smush it together with Cavill and Affleck, Superman, Batman, and say, that's it. That's the DC universe. This is the Justice League. Let's not redo the whole thing all over again.
Yeah, I mean, that would really help other people get into it, because like these movies are really bringing a whole new group of people to comic books.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot more people started picking up Guardians of the Galaxy comic books and this and that because, oh wow, this movie's awesome. I want to read this. I want to know more.
Definitely.
And like I said, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is being used as an awesome tool to kind of help bring people up to speed while entertaining them still.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to get all these back comics, this is what we're going to do, this is what what we're going to do with the movie and stuff like that. Here's your backstory. Arrow and Flash, I really think they have, for being TV show, I really think they have strong casts. And I really think that they should also link to the movie universe and that, yeah, the DC movies need to start linking together and not being, because I guess Batman versus Superman is not the same as the second Superman movie. There's still a Superman 2 or Man of Steel 2 or whatever it is coming out. So I don't know how that's supposed to be linked, but they do want to link to Justice League and this and that, and it would be so much easier on fans or potential fans if they would just link things together to make it so much easier to ingest. Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? Hopefully they figure something out, right?
Hire me, DC. I'll fix this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well. All right, kids. So that's about our hour. So for our guest, our quote unquote guest tonight, Agassicles, we usually close out the show with a final thought. So take 60 seconds to plug anything you want, talk about anything you want, tell us about your favorite Chinese food place, whatever you want. So go ahead, my friend.
I guess because I can't really think of anything else, I'll just replug some of the books that I mentioned that I think people should check out.
Yeah.
I think people should definitely check out Winter Soldier. I think you'd be fine going back and reading issues 1, 2, and 3 before 4 comes out.
Yeah.
I think All New Captain America. At least I only read issue 2, but I think that was a great book, and I think 3 is going to continue carrying the torch. I hope. And again, some of the off-mainstream stuff. Check out Abigail and the Snowman and Wild's End. I think those would be good reads.
Very cool, man. Awesome. And where can our listeners find you if they want to follow you on Twitter and such?
So on Twitter, I am Agassicles Stamus, or at Agassicles Stamus, all one word. So there'll be 2 S's in the middle. And on Google Plus, same thing, Agassicles Stamus. And on Google Plus, I'm pretty sure my URL is actually like the name, so it shouldn't be too hard to track down.
Very cool. Awesome, man. We were super excited to get to talk to you tonight, finally.
That's very, very cool.
That's awesome.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Yeah, for sure, man. Miss Piper, tell us your final thought for this week.
Well, I wanted to mention that Geeks with Wives has a new entertainment podcast. It's Geeks on Screen, and it's replacing the Poop Corn podcast. Where they talk about entertainment that doesn't really, go into the TV and movie and stuff that doesn't really fall into games or comics and stuff like that for the most part. You can watch everything on YouTube, but definitely check out the Poop Corn podcast replacement called Geeks on Screen. They've got like cool effects and stuff, and I'm all jealous and stuff. And I want to boost my own Patreon thingy. I guess that's how you pronounce it, because I'm starting to branch out and do my own comics and my own art, and possibly even soon try my hand at my own indie game making and stuff. But in order to do that, I will definitely need help messing with that. And I have awesome reward tiers for patrons. And that's Fizz Giggity. Everything's Fizz Giggity. You can find me everywhere, Fizz Giggity. Yeah, I mean, Xbox Live, anywhere. Fizz Giggity is usually the name. So it's down here on the screen, sort of. So I have it displayed on the screen if you're watching. If you're not, it's FYZZGIGG. Wait.
You're right.
I can't spell my own name, you guys. GIGGIDY. There we go. Fizz Giggity. Yeah, man, if you Google search that, you will find so much crap. But hopefully you'll find that my Patreon account and give me a hand so I can, make some cool stuff to show you guys.
The always complicated to find, but always worth it.
Yes, and definitely come bug me on Twitter. And we can have a troll off if you need to, if that's what you're into.
We all need a good troll off.
Yeah, right. I got a lot of trolls that follow me and try to piss me off, and it doesn't work. But but it's fun.
You're like a troll magnet, but little do they know.
Yes.
Come trolling.
Yes, come try your hand at pissing me off.
Yo, come at me, bro. Come at me.
Yeah,
bro.
come at me. Come at me, bro. On Twitter, and I will out troll you.
Awesome. I look forward to that for sure. Well, for my final thought this week, last week I think it was, I announced my next costume, which was Bard the Bowman from The Hobbit. It is already in the works. I got to start on that quicker than I thought. I went fabric shopping with my costume lady on Saturday and spent a whole lot of money on fabric, and I've gotten some progress pics. I have a fitting tomorrow. That's always super exciting. Hot Piper, when you're doing a costume and you got a fitting coming, it's like it's close. It's coming. So as that gets closer, I will be posting more pictures on our Twitter, and our Twitter is GWW Capes Crew, I believe. Sounds about right.
Yes.
And as always, keep checking out the site because there's constantly awesome new things going on the site. Everything from comic reviews to reviews about tech and gaming and everything under the sun. So make sure you're checking out geekswithwives.com for all those awesome reviews, content about cosplayers, and anything else you could want. And as always, we appreciate your following and your patronage, and thank you for listening. For the whole crew, Casey said sorry that he had to bounce out on the podcast. He lost power again.
Yeah.
For him and everybody else on the show, thank you for listening. We will catch you next week. Well, we'll be joined by our first guest of 2015. So come back for that. We look forward to having you. And as always, I'm Darth Sparrow. You can find me at Darth Sparrow, and I will catch you on the geek side.
I'm being attacked by